Across the table, Montague acknowledged a competent display of authority, or wealth, with a slight smile. Colin signalled the serving-maid with a tilt of his head, and that gesture, perfected in cantinas and public houses all across Portugal, Spain, France, and the Low Countries, earned him her cautious approach. Smart woman. Smart, exhausted woman. This impromptu drinking party had started a good 2 hours ago, and so far Colin had found it a waste of time, coin, and decent ale. One didn't say that, of course, not when one was a newly titled Scottish lord learning to keep company with English aristocrats. "Have the stable boy bring my horse around," Colin said, keeping his voice low. "I ride a blood bay, about 17 hands, with 2 white socks. Tell your master that Lord Colin MacHugh would rather the proprietor served us himself from this point onward."
"We'll get a cuff on me head for telling me master."
"Pierpont will get you a babe in your belly," Colin said, slipping the girl a few coins. "My brother is the Duke of Murdoch, and the publican will want to remain in my good graces."
"The Duke of Murder?"
How Hamish hated that sobriquet, but Colin would use it to keep this serving-maid from ruin. "The very one. And if anything happens to him, that title becomes mine. Away with you now, love." She curtsied and moved off, and because Colin was a newly titled Scottish lord in the company of his English peers, he pretended to watch her backside as she sashayed away. Then he yawned, the first expression of genuine sentiment on his part since he'd sat down with Montague and his friends. Mr. Wilbur Hitchings heaved a sigh of such theatrical proportions, Anwen Windham suspected he'd rehearsed it.
"A lady of your breeding and refinement shouldn't be bothered with financial matters," he said, shuffling papers on the lectern before him. "Though the general conclusion is simple enough. Charities need benefactors. Your good intentions are helpful and commendable, etc., and so forth. Nevertheless, good intentions do not pay the coalman or keep growing boys in boots and breeches."
Anwen refused to sit quietly and be condescended to, as if she were a recalcitrant scholar. She set about straightening the rows of desks and chairs before Hitchings' podium, because the headmaster of the Home for Wayward Urchins couldn't be bothered to restore order in the empty classroom.
"You were hired by the board of directors for your expertise in managing charitable establishments for children," Anwen said. "How do you propose we address the shortage of funds?"
Hitchings peered at her over gold-rimmed half-spectacles.
"Madam, I was hired because I have a firm grasp of the curriculum necessary to shape useful young men from brats and pickpockets. Financial matters are the province of the directors."
Hitchings had a firm grasp of the birch rod and the Old Testament. At meal-times, he had a firm grasp of his bottle of claret.
"Your efforts with the boys could not be more appreciated," Anwen replied. "I had hoped, based on your years of experience, you might have fundraising suggestions for a lady who'd like to see the House of Urchins thriving well into the future, under your guiding hand, of course."
She let that sink in. If the House of Urchins failed, Hitchings's livelihood failed with it. A simple enough conclusion.
"Charity balls come to mind," Hitchings said, flourishing a handkerchief, with which to polish his spectacles. "Subscriptions, donations, that sort of thing. To be blunt, Miss Anwen, funding endeavours are the only reason the directors bother having a ladies' committee. Your feminine endowments allow you to charm coin from those who enjoy an excess of means. If you'll excuse me, I have lessons to prepare."
Anwen's uncle was a duke, and her sister had recently married a duke. This preening dolt would not leave her to wrestle desks and chairs, while implying that she should flaunt her breasts and hips to keep a roof over his head.
"I'm sure the lesson preparation can wait a few more moments, Mr. Hitchings. How much longer will our present funds last?"
He tucked the handkerchief away and rolled up the papers from the lectern, as if a nearby puppy might require swatting.
"Weeks. 2 months at best."
In other words, as the social season neared its conclusion,